Hello everybody, my name is Neil and I'm the founder of my website, which is IELTSwheel.com, and today we'll be analyzing an essay taken from Cambridge Book 15. Now let's read and analyze this essay prompt in detail. In the future, more people will choose to go on holiday in their own country and not travel abroad on holiday. Do you agree or disagree? So, first of all, it's important to remember that it's an opinion essay, meaning that the examiner wants to know our personal opinion, because the question is, do you agree or disagree? So we should not include any public opinion in this essay. We should include only our personal opinion. So in my case, for example, I can just say that I disagree with the statement. Okay, and then the examiner wants to know at least two reasons why I disagree. So this is my supporting argument number one, and I'll be describing this supporting argument in detail in the first body paragraph, and I'll be talking about my second supporting argument in the second body paragraph. So in the first paragraph, I'll be talking about weather conditions, and then I'll provide an example. I will be talking about New Zealanders who really like spending their holidays in Russia. Okay, and then I can be more specific. I can just say that they really like going snowboarding, skiing, and building snow castles. And in my second body paragraph, I'll be talking about recreational hunting and fishing. And the example of this will be analyzed and will be provided related to Africa. Okay, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, first of all, it's important to write the introduction. Okay, and we will start our introduction with a background statement. And here I will indicate a universal trend. I'll just say that something is true around the world. Okay, and so look at this essay prompt again. Okay, so I can write something like this. People have been traveling both nationally and internationally for centuries. So the key word is traveling, because if you look at this carefully, in the future more people will choose to go on holiday. If they go on holiday, it's obvious that they travel. And okay, and here I'm using the present perfect continuous. The formula is have been plus ing. Why? Because the keywords are for centuries, meaning that this situation has been happening for a long time and it is still happening. Here I'm using complex grammar, both and. So remember, you include both A and B. Next, I'm using an adverb here, nationally and internationally, okay, for centuries. Okay, so this is our first background statement. Okay, next. Then I'll be talking about this part. In the future, more people will choose to go on holiday in their own country and not travel abroad on holiday. I should also mention this, and the second sentence is called detailed background. Okay, so here I need to be more specific, and I'm going to talk about the proposal given where in the essay prompt. Okay, now how can I do it? Let me show you. It has been projected that the number of individuals traveling across the country on holiday will surpass that of those holidaying overseas. Okay, now let's analyze the sentence. It has been projected that. Remember, you should use this expression when you're talking about a future prediction, because here we have in the future and then more people will choose. So you can just say that it has been projected that. That's what people think about the future. Okay, next, the number of individuals traveling across the country on holiday will surpass, which means more than. And here, remember, we are comparing the number of with the number of. So I don't want to write the number of twice, and therefore I have paraphrased this word, the number of, and I've written the word that, okay, of those holidaying overseas. Holidaying means spending a holiday abroad. If you look at this carefully, here it says more people will choose to go on holiday in their own country and not travel abroad. So I have paraphrased this sentence. Okay, now what is the next step? The examiner wants to know my personal opinion, because the question is, do you agree or disagree? So therefore, I have to clearly provide my personal opinion, and this one is called thesis. Thesis basically means my personal opinion. Now, how can we do it? As far as I'm concerned, this trend is unlikely to occur in the future. Okay, that's it. So when you write as far as I'm concerned, this is the same as in my opinion. Okay, but it's a more complex phrase. This trend means this trend, which we have just described, is unlikely to, which means will probably not. Okay, to occur here means to happen in the future. That's it. What is the next step? The next step is to write our plan, and this one is called outline, which means essay plan. Okay, now how can we do it? Let me show you. In order to reinforce the viewpoint, several valid arguments will be explored in this essay. Okay. So here, when you write reinforce, it means to make something strong. Viewpoint means point of view. Okay, in this case, my point of view, because I've written as far as I'm concerned, and this is my opinion. Several valid arguments will be explored. In this case, valid means strong arguments will be explored, which means analyzed in this essay. That's it. So this is our introduction. Once again, we have written our background statement, then detailed background, then thesis, and then outline our plan. And we need to write 4 sentences here because this one is pretty complex and we need to include each detail here. Now let's focus on body paragraph 1. Okay. Okay, so how can we write our first body paragraph? We have to write our topic sentence. In here, we have to provide our supporting argument number 1. So something like, now let's look at our plan. Look at this carefully. Okay, let me show you. So firstly, traveling overseas on vacation has been and therefore will be associated with weather conditions. Okay, so here, first of all, I'm using the present perfect to talk about a long period of time, and then I'm talking about the future will be associated with the weather conditions. Why? Because according to our essay prompt, here we have in the future. More people will choose, so I have to use the future simple here. And this is my first supporting argument, weather conditions. Okay, next. What is the next sentence? The next sentence is an example. Okay, for example, some New Zealand holidaymakers look forward to spending their vacations in Russia in winter in order to go snowboarding, skiing, and building snow castles. So the examiner wants to see one specific example here, and therefore I've just written some New Zealand holidaymakers. Holidaymakers are those who spend their holidays. Look forward to means to wait for something. Remember, after look forward to, we must use ing. Their vacations in Russia in winter in order to go snowboarding, skiing, and building snow castles. It's obvious that New Zealand holiday makers don't have this opportunity to do it in New Zealand all the time because it's warm and there isn't much snow in New Zealand, and therefore I have come up with this example. Okay, what's the next sentence? Now, evidence. Okay, or we can also say discussion. Okay, so the examiner wants me to prove to him that the example that I have just written is correct. So how can I do that? One of the reasons for this is the lack of snow in New Zealand. Okay, so one of the reasons for this, it's a very strong linking device. One of the reasons for this, and we have already mentioned this fact, and we are explaining why it is happening. Okay, and remember our topic sentence, and with here we have mentioned weather conditions, and we are talking about this, right? The lack of snow. Next, okay, and okay, now we just want to have one more supporting idea, something like it is unlikely that it will snow heavily in New Zealand. In the future, and therefore international travel to Russia will remain a preferable option. Okay, so it's unlikely that, which means it's almost impossible that it will snow heavily in New Zealand, because before I mentioned the fact that the lack of snow, and therefore international travel to Russia, I'm referring back to the previous sentence, to the sentence about an example, and then will remain a preferable option, which means that's what people will prefer to do. And therefore, kind of like I disagree with this, with the essay prompt. Okay, now we can write body paragraph 2. Okay, and once again here we are going to write our topic sentence. Okay, and here we will provide our second supporting argument. Now let's look at our plan. Recreational hunting and fishing. An example will be Africa. So something like secondly, recreational hunting and fishing in some countries have always been attractive and are likely to appeal to keen hunters, and fishermen from those countries where these options are limited. Okay. Okay, so here I'm talking about the second supporting argument, and therefore I've written secondly. Recreational hunting and fishing in some countries have always been attractive. I'm using the present perfect here because the key word is always, so we are talking about a long period of time. And are likely to means will probably be. Okay, next, to appeal to means to attract. Okay, from those countries where these options are limited. Okay, now the examiner wants to see one specific example. And we can write something like, for instance, some travelers going on holiday are ready to pay up to $20,000 to engage in legal hunting in such countries as Africa. Okay, so some travelers going on holiday are ready to pay up to $20,000 to engage in. Here means to be involved in legal hunting in such countries as Africa. So we are trying to be very specific here. Okay, now the examiner wants to know the reason. Okay, so which means evidence for this. Okay, and we want to provide one specific reason here, something like, one of the reasons behind this trend is that hunting is strictly forbidden by law in some countries. Okay, so before in my topic sentence, I just say that where these options are limited, and therefore here I've just written that hunting is strictly forbidden. In this case, strictly means completely, entirely forbidden. You can't do it by law in some countries. Okay, and then now I can just write a hypothetical situation. Using a second conditional. Okay, if then. So the idea is the situation doesn't exist, but I'm trying to imagine this situation. So how can I do it? And why am I using this strategy? To reinforce my point of view. Okay, now how can we do it? If this regulation were abolished in the future, more travelers would prefer to spend their holidays locally rather than internationally. Which is unlikely to be the case. Okay. Now, I'm using second conditional. Remember here, if, where, yeah, the second conditional here. Yeah, so if, where, and then would. Okay, if this regulation, which means if this law were abolished in the future, abolish means cancel, more travelers would prefer to spend their holidays locally rather than internationally. And here, I'm providing my personal opinion, say which is unlikely to be the case, which means which will probably not happen. Okay? And therefore, I disagree with this opinion. So this last sentence helps me to reinforce my point of view. Okay, now the last paragraph is called the conclusion paragraph. Paragraph. Or just conclusion. Okay. Now, what do I need to include here? I have to provide my point, my personal point of view, so my opinion, okay, plus supporting argument number 1 plus supporting argument 2. That's exactly what the examiner wants to see in my conclusion. Okay, so based on the above, it is my conclusion that it is unlikely that there will be more local travel than international in the future, as the weather and hunting factors will ultimately contribute to the choice of travelers. Now, as you can see, I've written only one sentence. Here, my opinion, it's obvious that when you just write, it is my conclusion that, it's obvious that you are talking about your personal opinion. Next, it's unlikely that there will be more local travel than international, which means that you disagree with it, and therefore you say it's unlikely that. Why? And then you provide the first supporting argument, the weather. So this is the first supporting argument. And then in hunting, so we're talking about the second argument. Will ultimately, which means finally, contribute to, in this case means affect the choice of travelers. That's it. Hopefully you've learned to write an opinion-based essay. You've learned to provide your personal opinion. You've learned how to reinforce your opinion by presenting relevant examples, evidence, supporting ideas, and you've learned how to write the last paragraph, which is the conclusion paragraph, and you've learned to use complex grammar, advanced vocabulary, and linking devices. If you want me to help you with your essays, graphs, or letters, if you want me to check them, to analyze all of your errors in detail, or if you want me to focus on your speaking responses, you can visit my website, which is IELTSWheel.com. In addition to this, I can help you to prepare for the exam by providing you with advanced video courses for your forthcoming IELTS examination. And you can also take private online lessons with me. Thank you very much for watching this video lesson.